My name is Vivek, and today we are here with Layla. Layla, welcome to the first DIMS podcast.
Thank you.
So, Layla, you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, my name is Layla Eichler. I am in Helena, Montana. I have been a adult treatment court coordinator since July 2015, and I have an absolute passion for helping people. I feel as if I explain, we become part of their family. We have a team of 7. We are a small community, and so when other participants come in here, they always look at it and say, "Oh, I know that person. Oh, that person's doing great." And also, when I'm screening people, a lot of people know, and they're like, "Wow, they made it," and so it's pretty neat. When anybody comes to the courthouse, unless they're getting married, it's not good. So very
Yeah.
little. So that's how they view the courthouse, and then once I explain the whole situation and walk them through the courthouse and the courtroom, and I actually show them before they get there, this is where you stand, this is where the team sits, this is how you interact. And then of course I'm the first contact when they first start to come in, but they start to trust the team, and then they actually look forward to seeing us and coming to court.
No, that's pretty cool. I have spoken to probably over 300 court coordinators at this point. Some of the things that you do differently than the others. So of course I think there is the team effort and staffing and going through the week and treatment and all of the nitty-gritties and the best practices and all of those things. But I believe that there are other things that you do differently, and I know you and I spoke about this, is humanizing the staff and the treatment court participants and sort of helping them realize that this is not a punishment of sorts. This is a chance to do better, and we are a community. I think the sense of the word community stands out here. So, can you talk a little about what is it that you do, how you got started in this?
Yeah, so I was working as I was in college later after being a stay at home mom, and I needed a part time job. So I took on a job as a treatment technician on the floor at our inpatient state ran chemical dependency center. And that's kind of where I actually was going to be I wanted to be an RN. I was going to school for nursing. And once I worked with this population and seeing that these are real human beings that have made bad choices due to substance use. That could happen to a lot of people. It can happen to the best of the best. So I just feel like I'm not any better than them. I've just made better choices. We all have trauma. We all have mental health, different levels, of course. But I just feel like this is a bad time in their life. And usually in the past, because I've been doing this for almost 10 years, treatment courts were the last resort before they went to prison. Times have changed a little bit. Department of Corrections have changed their MIGs a little bit. However, it's still pretty imperative that this is, a big step for them. And I just let them know that we are human. The team's human. We actually have a really good team. I'm super fortunate because we've had switchovers in our team, changes in probation and changes in defense attorneys and prosecutors and a judge. And we just have a really good team and we all care. And that's really important. It's very important that you show that you're not being judgmental. That's the number one, I think, in humanizing. I mean, they're just humans that are really struggling. And now, thank God that everybody is so recognizing this as it is a disease. It's like diabetes. If you don't eat right, you're going to get sick. You're going to have to use more insulin. I mean, it's a same concept, but I believe it's a lot harder.
So, I think we all go through that process of realization
hmm
of disease, and addiction is also a disease. It's a mental health disorder,
hmm
substance use disorder. So that makes sense. We were on the path of talking about some of the unique things that you have built within your code program. What was the spark which said, "Oh, I wish I did this, and why don't I do it?"
Well, I feel like I'm just a very people person. So, I mean, I could pick 10 good things out of the one participant that drives me crazy. And I keep reminding myself that. And we have someone who's getting ready to graduate and he didn't buy into trusting me as everybody else does. There's so many participants that I
Hmm.
really bond with and he just really didn't open up. And then he finally did because I invited him on a float This isn't technically a treatment court floating the river process, but I started this 5 years ago with a couple of graduates, a couple people talking about, I've never floated the river sober before. We have multiple rivers around us. And I said, well, let's all go float. So it just kind of happened like that. And we created this tradition. And people who want to go, I remember the first float, one of my participants had an ankle bracelet on and he rode this big flamingo and he kept his foot up. And I thought, oh my gosh, if you get that wet, that's Department of Corrections. And he didn't, but he had the best time and he's done it for 4 years. He's been a graduate. So, but with that, backing that story up, um, that's kind of how things get started. I have a passion for hiking. I feel like if you get outside, if you're having such a bad day, just go outside, take a walk. And so I started it years ago with this lady who's never hiked Mount Helena. Again, we are very fortunate. We live in the most beautiful state in the world, I feel like. So we have a hiking system, and she did it. And when we got to the very top, you could see all of Helena. It was Mount Helena. And she was so excited that she even did this. And I did this on my own time with her. And then she did it 3 times later that week, taking other people. So I feel like we are the ones who are the gate to this treatment court, the team and the
Hmm.
court. And
Hmm.
I do go above and beyond. And this stuff isn't really required. It's really not required with the job. However, it really helps. It really helps these people feel like, wow, I can come to you with a problem and you're my advocate. And again, on the other hand, I'm not just their advocate. I'm going to call them out on when they're not doing right. So,
Right.
but that's kind of how it got started. But back to the float, this participant's getting ready to graduate, came on our last float, and now he's just so opened up to me. And it's pretty cool to see the transition. He could see me outside of court. I'm a human.
So tell us a little bit about this picture.
So I submitted for us to do this, the four of us, and we had to commit to the gym 3 days a week. We were assigned a personal trainer. He's on your right. His name is Alex. And we had to do this for 4 weeks. And there was other community teams, and we took first place.
What's going on here?
So I invited a lot politicians from both sides to one of our graduations. The man to the in the red tie sitting
Hmm.
across, that was the county attorney at the time. This was a while back, and it was just nice having both sides. We had Republican and we had Democrats come. I'm not political like that, and I feel like it's very important to be able to get both parties to see what we do. And that was a really good day because we had both political parties, senator staff, tester staff, all sit there. So I just got up there and the team was sitting behind me and spoke about what we do and what we've done. And it was amazing.
Tell us about this one.
So that was our new governor. And I was amazed that it was a really quick invite. And he very well supports treatment. And as a matter of fact, he had stated that he has close family members that have experienced substance abuse.
And then we'll go through. Yeah, talk about this one right here.
So this picture right here were bags. This was during COVID. So we couldn't actually have the food on the table. So what I did is at home, I would take and make chocolate dips, pretzels with sprinkles and all these fun little things that cost rarely nothing. And I
Right.
took these bags and my daughter, 14-year-old, I got her involved. That's another thing that's amazing is my children love this and they see what I do. And she decorated the bags and it's just great.
It looks fabulous. So again, looking at all of these pictures, what it shows me is that what you do takes a lot of effort, right? And it takes a lot of commitment and planning. So tell me a little bit about the response that you get from the participants when you do extracurricular activities. You don't need to do this, but you do.
Yes.
What kind of impact do you think it has on the participants and your staff members?
It makes a huge impact. I'll make
Hmm.
snacks for the team for our staffing. And there's a couple times that I wouldn't. And the team's like, where's our food? But it just really brings the team together too. It's amazing how food brings the team together. And I also have a very good team, like I've stated. I work for a great judge. There's many great judges out there. It takes a special judge to run a specialty court. So with that being said, most judges who do this and apply for these courts and run these courts, they realize what coordinators can do and will do, and they back them. I've never seen a judge not back a coordinator do this stuff.
How do you think someone gets started with this? Someone who's never done this before, they're great at what they do and all of those things. But I think this is the team bonding, bringing the participants together, helping them cheer each other on, and those kind of things that builds what I would like to call camaraderie.
If a coordinator has a passion, we all have passions, right? And so
Hmm.
you need to think about those passions and how they can incorporate that passion, because the whole goal is to show the participants a bigger and better life. That's the whole goal. There's so much more out there to do than cruise around and use drugs or however associate with negative people. So if you can bring your passion, I don't care if it's flowers or crafts, or I've heard coordinators doing pumpkin carving, just whatever is your passion, you need to try to bring it into the court, because that helps humanize and it shows that you're human and that you actually really care.
What do you think your purpose is in the lives of these participants?
My purpose is to let them know that we're all human and that they can move forward and they can be whatever and whoever they want to be, even if they're stamped with a felony on their head, literally on their forehead, because that's how I feel they come in here. And there's some great businesses that I have partnership with that hire them. There are colleges that you can appeal to go to school. One of my guys is in med school right as we speak. I mean, he's on his way to master's to med school. He had to jump through hoops after hoops after hoops, but he's there and he's so intelligent and he had no idea. So I feel like that is my job as a coordinator, is to meet with them and get them through this process. On the other hand, when they don't like our treatment provider, because best practices we use too, they don't like our treatment providers. I keep telling them it's not the rest of your life. It's to get you through where you need to be. And then you can choose a counselor or a mental health counselor from a whole different entity that you want. Right now, our job is to get you through this. And it just really helps. We're getting them through. We're introducing them to people. They don't like to go out. Oh gosh, when we go bowling, I've had participants before say, I don't want to do this. I don't want to socialize. I don't want to bowl. And they were miserable about it. And I said, well, this is a court order. You actually have to show up because we do it in lieu of court. And they're not happy. And so they go, and they love it, and it was absolutely great. So it's pushing them out of their comfort zones in the right way and showing them things that they've never seen before.
Tell us about some of your favorite moments.
We had a horrible phase one group of people, so disrespectful. It was, I mean, it's very difficult for the team. We're all just over it. The judge is like, I don't even want to do this program anymore. I mean, this group was that bad. So I made this big, like this announcement to people. And I also have my Facebook, and then we also have a First Judicial District Treatment Court Facebook. And I
Okay.
had posted on there. Usually I just post the events, and I don't post very much on there, but I did post that we were really struggling. We have a lot of people in here that just aren't buying into it and they're not trusting us, and it's just driving us crazy. So I ended up having, at the next court date, I think 7 graduates got a hold of this. One told one person, news hit the floor. They all showed up at court, sat in the jury's box where the team sits, and each and every one of them spoke to everybody in there in phase that was just not doing right and just so disrespectful, just telling them what an opportunity this is. You need to trust them. You need to listen to them. And that was amazing. I was like, wow, this is pretty cool. And actually, I did turn things around for a few of them. So that was really good. We went skiing. I contacted our local ski hill and asked them if they could give us some kind of a discount. And so we got rides for everybody, and we made lunches, and we went up there. And one of my guys was 24, just kept to himself. I mean, he was in the drug world for a long time, and he used to snowboard. And I actually have a picture of him on the hill. And that just made me, he had his backpack on and his ski suit. He's like, we didn't see him the rest of the day. He was up and down, up and down. He did it all day. And then he saved up his money. That was the beginning of the ski to buy a season pass. And he did it. I mean, so that's the stuff is, even if they did do that stuff years ago, they stopped doing that. And so those are the things that just make me smile. Like,
Do you think, with the addiction and the substance use, they almost forget who they were?
they
And would you
do.
say that doing these activities helps them remind them of who they were before they
Mm-hmm.
landed up here,
Oh,
right?
most definitely.
And I think that probably triggers the whole idea of maybe I can go back to being who I was.
Exactly. And I have a graduate. Here's another story. This was within last week. She's very her income is low right now. She's always been a trendy dresser, and she's just her self-esteem has just been horrible. She finally graduated. Like I said, finances are still pretty tough. Well, her daughter invited her to the Pink concert recently here in Missoula. And Stacy called me and she said, Layla, do you have any clothes that you're not wearing that maybe, you could bring to office? I really want to look cute for my daughter. And she's in her 50s. So I did. I grabbed all my hot pink stuff and I brought it to my office. And she sent me a selfie of her with her daughter at Pink wearing this awesome outfit. So, I mean, stuff
It
like that.
it this doesn't look like a 9 to 5 job, is it?
Well, I mean, no, it's not, but it is if you make it that. But if you don't make it that, I mean, I have a very busy personal life, extremely busy, but I just make time. And it's not that much time, to be honest. I mean, a phone call, hey, what's up? What do you need? That's not much time to make a difference in somebody's life. As I was talking to you earlier, Vivek, I had another graduate was getting ready to go to a peer support conference because she's applying to be a peer support specialist. She called me in a panic. Her car wouldn't start. Her battery's dead. She lives 3 blocks from the courthouse. Could you please come jump me? I'm like, okay. So I was like, I gotta go. So I went and I jumped her car for her. I mean, that's what we do. She's not even in our program anymore. That's what we do.
Right, right.
Now think about it.
Yeah, they remember you after they are done all of
Yeah.
these years, and they keep coming
Yep.
back. And especially the folks that you said when you had a tough phase one and all of those people showed
Yeah.
up.
Yeah.
And that's a very touching
I
story.
I like to go and eat at restaurants where participants work. I know that for the sheriff, like a sheriff department, they have to watch their food be made. No one's going to go. That's a whole different situation. I do it intentionally. I have a participant. She graduated, but she worked at Chili's. I threw my son's 16th birthday at Chili's because she was there and she was our server. Why not? And she loves it. So,
I didn't realize that law enforcement will have trouble going to restaurants.
uh,
I just something clicked in my head, that, oh boy, I
yeah,
guess so. But that also tells you how different treatment court is
it is.
from other agencies and law enforcement and other programs from the
Yes.
Department of Corrections,
It
right? Like
is.
it's you can trust your server
You can
and your cook
trust your server.
and
So
your cook.
that's a big thing too. I mean, we just went like I was talking about that float trip. One of our retired probation officers, she had half of these people on her case, if not them or their families, their parents. It's been a revolving door, right? So she is now our UA provider. She's retired from DOC, and now she
Okay.
is our she asked me, why didn't you invite me on that float? And I said, what? I just never thought you'd be interested. So not only did she go on that float, that just changed. People are like, Gina's going? Oh my gosh. So that was another success for me. That was here at the end of July that we actually had a retired probation officer who's now our UA provider going on a float with 17 of us.
If you're in second grade or third grade and you see your teacher at the mall and you're like, what? This person has a life outside of her job. She does the same things that I do. You know what I mean? Like it's weird to see that, and I sort of related to that, like a child seeing someone with authority doing things with them outside of the construct that they're supposed to be in. And maybe for these treatment providers to see a probation officer, retired of course, and all of those things, be part of this
Mhm.
must be wonderful, you know.
It is, and we're not. There's a difference. I'm not bringing them to my house to have dinner. I'm not going to their house having dinner. I mean, there's a whole different boundary thing. This is completely different. This is just doing activities, fun activities, helping them realize, going ice skating. I mean, we do so much, and it's that there's times that it's required when we don't have court, and that's what's amazing about our judge is once in a while, once a month, we'll do an activity when everybody's there. Whether we go golfing, we just did that. And the judge goes out and he makes his appearance and he throws the fall and then he hangs around for a minute and then he leaves. But it's amazing that he allows that. And then all the other extra stuff I do, I ask, is this okay? Absolutely. It's not required. But let me tell you, a lot more people show up than I would have expected. And because those are the ones that want change in their life too. They're like, wow.
I guess in all of this, a word of caution for everyone who's listening to us is there's a line, there's a boundary. You have to be aware of the
Mhm.
best practices and standards. You cannot have the judge mingling with this one on one
Mhm.
and things like that. So you can't take this overboard. So you
Yes.
have to do it within the confines of what is best practices, standards, and ethics. And yet you are telling me that there are ways to do it. You've been doing it
Yes. Yes.
in accordance with the standards, and that it certainly produces the results. No, I can tell you that yesterday I was talking to the Montana State coordinator, and the graduation rates for the state of Montana
Mhm.
are tremendous,
Mhm.
and they have increased in
Mhm.
year on year. They are improving,
Mhm.
and initially, I was telling Jake Lapke, this is like
Mhm.
he asked me for numbers and data, and so I gave it to him. And before I gave it to him, I was like, man, this seems high, it must not be right. So I had to go double check all of this data
Mhm.
before. I was like, is there a mistake? But no,
I
th-
know. It's
it's
good.
pretty,
It
it's
is
good.
good. I wouldn't
Yeah,
do it. I wouldn't be doing this. And this is what I tell people who are new into the program. Look, I've been doing this for a long time, and I have to tell you, it is a hard job as far as mentally. You're basically. I have this list. I mean, I feel like you're a travel agent, you're an accountant. I mean, you're a case manager. I mean, there's a lot of stuff we have to do that's above and beyond a normal just position, which is true. But I feel like as a new coordinator, it's very overwhelming. And I'm also on a committee for the state of Montana to help go around and train coordinators because that is very needed. So we don't have a high turnover of coordinators for one, because it is very stressful if you're not shown. There's so many aspects of it. But once you get those aspects, you can add all this other stuff in it. It's such a rewarding position to be in, and it's a great job. I wouldn't be doing it. I'm the type of person, if I don't like my job, I'm going to quit it.
I'm sure there are times when you feel like, man, this is not working out. Like, do you ever feel like, I just want to quit? Like,
Yes. Yes. There's multiple times. There's a term that I picked up years ago in school, and it's called vicarious trauma. And I feel that coordinators who put their heart into this job as a passion experience it. I experience it. If a participant is struggling and they hurt, I try really so hard not to take that hurt to myself and take it home, because we're humans and we're working with humans. So I think that it does get really hard. And there's times I think I just want to be a paper pusher. I just want to work with papers, not humans. Life would be so much easier. However, that's my passion, and I would be very bored and I would not like it and I wouldn't feel like I'm making a difference. But it does get very, very a high burnout, is what they say.
no, thank you. I think I learned so much today from you.
Hmm.
Just the nuances, right? I mean, you can read 100 books
Yeah.
and still not get it, and you can have an experience and it clicks
Yeah.
immediately that, oh, this is why. Or so. No, thank you so much, Layla, for spending this afternoon with us. But there's no place where these discussions can happen in a frank,
Right.
fashion, so that others can listen and say, "Oh, why don't I try this? Why don't I
Right.
try that?" And maybe it helps them increase their graduation rate. And I know
Mhm.
that graduation rates look like just numbers as a percentile, but behind those numbers, when that number goes from 50 to 53%, that 3% is equal to 4 people, two lives,
Yeah,
and those two
exactly.
lives have families.
Yes, they
So
do.
it's their lives,
Yeah.
right? They go back home, they're making money, they're paying taxes, they're being important members of society and not filling up jails. God, we know that that's what we,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know, we as a country need to avoid that
Yes.
piece.
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thanks.